Yo guys, welcome back to another video. This weekend we have a main event between two welterweights with former champ and number 1 ranked Jack Della Maddalena taking on number 5 ranked Carlos Prates. Will JDM put some respect back on his name after the loss to Islam and silence the doubters, or will Carlos Prates finally become the number 1 contender and continue his streak of KO wins? This is UFC Fight Night Perth, and I'm going to give my full card predictions. Let's get right into it. I'm going to start with Jack Della Maddalena versus Carlos Prates. I've tossed and turned my prediction on this so many times, and I'm just so excited for this fight. I don't think if you're a Perth fan, there's not a better main event you could ask for, honestly. I haven't watched anyone else's videos, but I expect the predictions to be all over the place. And, I'm going to go with JDM to win. I just think whoever is the one that is going forward and having more success on the front foot is going to win this fight. And I think I'm going with JDM because I think he has the footwork and the movement to do it more effectively. JDM just has a very unique style to himself. Smooth movement, nice footwork. I think in this fight he needs to be moving laterally a lot. If he's going to be fighting on the back foot, has to be going with a lot of baits and mixing up the tempo in his footwork, as in like moving around, planting his feet, and then letting Prates get his feet set, and then he moves it around again. That kind of thing. He's very good at doing that. Has really nice footwork, JDM. Really unique to himself. And he has to be moving to his left with a lot of feints, a lot of head movement, and fighting southpaw. Fighting southpaw in this fight, to me, is one of the most important things for JDM. It really is. When you think of the fight with Leon Edwards and Carlos Prates, or with Li Jingliang, those fights ended quicker because both of them were orthodox. They were fighting orthodox. You see in the Leon Edwards fight, when he was fighting southpaw, he was having some success. The split second he turns orthodox, and Carlos Prates gets that outside foot position and shoots that straight left hand, it was done. And Carlos Prates has this freakish reach that is not normal to have. And people like Edwards, he thought he was at a safe range to be out of the way of that left hand. He got caught with it because Carlos Prates is just weirdly long. And with Jeff Neal too, okay, he was southpaw, but again, it came from a crazy spinning back elbow, which was set up, by the way. Carlos Prates set that shot up. It's not. Carlos Prates has a bunch of nasty KOs, but Carlos Prates has an underrated striking IQ. He is very high level in his striking, and he's not knocking guys out just because. Ian Gary gave him problems from orthodox, but it was because he was tall and long. He was just staying at a good range for himself. But fighting Carlos Prates, you cannot stay at his range for too long. You cannot be staying at the end of his punches. You have to be moving. Kevin Holland had success against JDM just by keeping him at the end of his punches, and he landed a couple good right hands. I think JDM needs to get on the inside of Carlos Prates, obviously, and get those nasty body head combinations. He has beautiful shot selection. Get him against the cage and let those combinations off. But he has to be careful to not run into any knees. Carlos Prates always looks to land those knees, and he's going to be looking to intercept his head movement with those knees. And I think he needs to be attacking Carlos Prates from angles, like Jeff Neal did. Jeff Neal had a little bit of success in that first round before he got finished, obviously. Again, fighting southpaw and putting Prates in an uncomfortable situation. Taking up different angles and letting shots out from different angles and putting him on his back foot. Carlos Prates is not as good on the back foot as he is on his front foot, like it is with a lot of fighters, but especially him, who's just getting a bunch of knockouts. And with JDM, I just think he just can't get repetitive in his movements, because there are a lot of times where he likes to shoot that left hand and exit off to his left hand side and take an angle at the same time. He likes to punch, dip, and then move out of the way. He did it against Bilal a lot of times, and Bilal started to catch on to it, and he started to throw a left hook off of that. JDM was throwing it from orthodox, with his two and exiting to that right hand side, but he started to catch on, and because he got repetitive, and he started to throw that left hook, and it was a good adjustment from Bilal. That's something he can't do. He can't get repetitive in his movements. And JDM kept an insane pace against Bilal. Insane pace and volume for 5 rounds on the feet the entire fight. There was a couple takedowns mixed in there, but majority was on the feet, obviously. If JDM is able to keep that pace for 5 rounds, Carlos Prates has to finish him in the early rounds with the volume that JDM is going to put on him. The pace that JDM can keep is one that I think Carlos Prates cannot maintain for 5 rounds. And Prates just doesn't do well with movers. He doesn't do well with guys that have good footwork or moving constantly. In the Ian Gary fight, in the Jeff Neal fight, Jeff Neal was having a lot of success in that first round before he got finished. But again, Prates is extremely dangerous in those early rounds. All of his UFC wins were in the first 2 rounds. But what happens later? He's still only gone 5 rounds against Ian Gary one time. And it was a fight where Prates had very little output because Ian Gary was moving and was on the outside for a lot of the second half of that fight. And Ian Gary started to fatigue towards the end. And to be fair, Prates was still there. But even then, he didn't have enough gas in the tank to get a finish, to really push for a finish when it was there. And as I said, he's very dangerous in those early rounds, but I just don't think Prates is going to get a KO within those early rounds versus JDM. I debated going Carlos Prates, but I just can't do it because I just don't see JDM getting finished in those first 2 rounds specifically. JDM is going to be way too fresh and way too good with his footwork in those early rounds to get caught with that left hand. You're training all camp to not get caught with that left hand. I don't think it'll happen. But I think if Prates were to get a finish, I think it would probably come from destroying that leg of JDM, like Islam did as well. Making JDM fight orthodox and try to get him to go to his right after destroying that leg, make him go orthodox. Going to that kick to the body because JDM is a bit susceptible to it. Land that left hand, and it's definitely a possibility. As I said, I thought about it a lot, but I just don't see Prates getting a finish. JDM has some tendencies and repetitiveness that he does. Against Belal, he got square a lot of times when he was trying to switch stances, and Belal timed him, and he landed a nice right hand. That's something that JDM has to be way more careful of because Prates is going to look to land that. And again, he started to get repetitive when he was stepping off to an angle and exiting after throwing that too. Belal started to time a left hook when JDM was fighting orthodox and throwing that too. Prates could do the same, but with other weapons and cutting him off there. Maybe it's not with a left hook. Maybe it's with a spinning back fist, a right hook, a spinning wheel kick, whatever. And JDM does get touched up sometimes. He does. Against the fence too. He keeps his head high sometimes and he can get caught with shots, but he does do well to exit with head movement and very cleanly. And we're talking about a striker versus striker matchup. Like, I don't think either of them are going to be looking to get takedowns. If someone would, it would be JDM, clearly. I really doubt that he does it. I don't think it's a bad idea to do it. Maybe to try once or twice. If you're having more success with it, why not do it more? I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I just don't see it really happening. I doubt JDM does it. I think JDM thinks he's good enough to beat him on the feet. But if it is getting a bit scary in those early rounds, maybe he does try to change it up a little bit. But even Carlos Prates, he's good at getting back to his feet when taken down. Same with JDM. If JDM were to get a takedown, it'd probably be from catching those kicks and converting into takedowns. But yeah, dude, it's like I feel like I have something like internally just against Prates for some reason, but I don't know why. Like, I don't hate Prates. I've picked against him a lot in his last few fights. Like, I picked Jeff Neal to beat him. Again, this was before I was like breaking down fights more, but I picked Jeff Neal to beat him. I picked Edwards to beat him too, but a lot of people had them beating him too, so it's not that crazy to say, but they were horrible predictions in hindsight. But yeah, man, I don't think it's going to be easy for JDM. I think it's going to be a very good and competitive fight, very high-level striking matchup, and I'm very excited for it. JDM's going to have to be spot on in those early rounds. Has to be spot on, cannot lose focus. What I think he's going to do, he's going to fight southpaw, be moving around, bait him with his footwork, don't stay complacent in front of him, attack from different angles, use his footwork to get those angles. Get on the inside, land those nasty body head combinations against the fence. Make sure you're on the front foot, and don't fall into your bad tendencies. Don't get too predictable with that two and exit off that to that side every time. Change it up a little bit. Don't get caught square when switching stances. Get that head movement going. I just really think JDM is going to win this. I think he can keep that pace for 5 rounds on the feet. I think he's proven that versus Belal. And I go JDM decision. I'm going to go JDM decision. I think him not being able to finish Belal, I don't see him finishing Carlos Prates, but I'm very excited for this main event. I'm sorry if it was a bit of a bad breakdown. Just things didn't go to plan this week, but I got JDM by decision. Let's go on to the rest of the card. I really hope I didn't forget anything. The co-main event, Beneil Dariush versus Quillan Salkilld. Dariush has been in the UFC a long time. Fought a lot of good guys. Never said no to anyone. And Dariush looks older than what he actually is. He's honestly not even that old. I believe he's like 36. Is currently on a losing streak. He 1-3 in his last 4, but he's fought really good guys. Coming off the loss to Benoit Saint-Denis. Before that, had a win over Moicano. He's a southpaw that has a very big left hand, throws it very looping, has better kicks than punches, throws everything quick and big with big power behind it, and has been able to compete with some of the best grapplers in the world. The 5 vs. Gamrot proved it, but I think the biggest thing for him is his defense on the feet. He's very reckless and has been hurt many times, dropped and TKO'd. All of his losses have come by finish, most by TKO within the first 2 rounds. And Quillen Salkilld is one of the most hyped prospects right now, and for good reason. I think was a champion at Eternal, got signed to the Contender Series, got signed on the Contender Series with the win over Gage Young, on an 11-fight win streak. Only loss was in his pro debut by submission, and is currently undefeated in the UFC. Most notable win probably being against Nasrat Haqparast, I would say, which was an absolutely nasty viral knockout, disgusting. But is coming off the win to Jamie Mullarkey by submission. And he's put on incredible performances. As I said, he's a very high regarded prospect, and for good reason. I love Quillen Salkilld as well. I'm very high on him. I think he's going to go very far. He's still very early in his career though. He's very well rounded, has KO and submission wins, really good grappling. But versus Ashmush, he did get a bit gassed towards the end because of all the wrestling. I think on the feet, Salkilld and Dariush are somewhat similar in a way. Hear me out. Both of them throw a lot of kicks. Both have power in their hands. But Salkilld is just a bit more technical. Has better boxing and punch combinations. I'm going to go with Salkilld to win by KO within the first 2 rounds. I think he's going to want to keep the fight on the feet, because that's where he obviously has an advantage over Dariush. As I said, he's more technical. I don't think it's going to be easy to get takedowns on Dariush, even if Salkilld wants to. And I think it would just play into what Dariush wants to do, which is to take Salkilld down. On the feet, Salkilld is going to stay at that long range and look to land that high kick again. The one he landed on Haqparast, because it's a southpaw versus orthodox matchup. And when he gets in close, I think he's going to let those combinations go. You've seen many times when in the clinch and in that close range, Dariush hasn't been able to take those punches well, and guys have knocked him out from in that close range. But even if Dariush gets Salkilld taken down, I think Salkilld is good enough to get back to his feet anyway. It's been a while since Dariush has gotten a finish, but who knows, man? Maybe it ends up being another victory for the Unks at lightweight. Maybe they just continue it going. But no, I think the momentum of Salkilld is a very big thing also in this fight. He's been getting better and better. I think he's going to get into the top 15 for the first time. So I'll go Quillen Salkilld by round 2 KO. Next fight, Tim Elliot versus Steve Erceg. I was honestly surprised that Erceg was ranked lower than Tim Elliot. I don't know how Erceg got that low in the rankings. I honestly don't know. But anyway, Elliot has been in the UFC for quite some time. Very experienced guy. Fought a lot of good guys. Most popularly took DJ to a decision coming off the Ultimate Fighter. Right now is on a 2-fight win streak, beating Kaya Sakura and Sumadarji. Has a lot of decision wins, but most of his finishes have come by submission. A lot of his losses have come by submission as well. And he has never gone to KO or been KO'd himself in the UFC. And as I said, he's given a lot of good guys problems, like Demetrius Johnson, like Muhammad Mokaev, like Kaya Sakura, Tagiro Lambekov. Because he has that weird and awkward style on the feet. Just a lot of unorthodox movements. Gives a lot of different looks. And is very hard to read. And his shots aren't technical whatsoever. But it doesn't mean he's not smart. He's very smart in what he does. Elliot is more likely to get a finish on the ground than on the feet. Has a decent guillotine as well. Still at 39, still a hard guy to prepare for, man. Steve Erceg was a champion at Eternal, then got signed and had a fast rise in the UFC, winning 3 in a row. Quickly got a title shot versus Pantoja. Gave him a very good fight in Brazil. That was a crazy time in the flyweight division, by the way. Like, number 10 ranked Steve Erceg was getting a title shot after 3 wins, which was insane. The flyweight division is in a much better situation. I'm not saying Steve Erceg is bad by any means. As I said, he gave Pantoja a very good fight. I love Steve Erceg. I'm a big Steve Erceg fan. And some argue he won the Pantoja fight. I think him going for takedowns in round 5 is what really cost him the fight. It really comes down to who you give round 3 in that fight. But either way, It was close and he came up short. After that, he went on to lose to Kaikar France and Brandon Moreno, which really aren't bad losses. He lost 2 guys at the top of the flyweight division. Erceg, most recently coming off the win to Ode Osborne, was at 135 because Ode had to step in on short notice. Was very competitive. Erceg was in some trouble early on. More of Erceg's wins have come by submission, but all were before he was in the UFC. Only been finished once in his career, was to Kaikar France by TKO. Steve Erceg is very well rounded, very technical striker, has really good and clean boxing, throws fast and sharp, but he has good ground game also. Proved it versus Pantoja, got up from the bottom many times, has nice level changes himself, and gotten subs in the past, a lot by Rina Kachok. I'm going to go with Steve Erceg to win by decision. It's obviously going to be really annoying at the beginning of the fight for him, but I think as long as Erceg stays on the feet, feints and fights on the front foot, doesn't overextend on any of his punches, just stays very disciplined, which he never really overextends on anything, I think he'll be able to beat Tim Elliott. And I think even if it goes to the ground, which it probably will at some point, Erceg is good enough to stay out of any submission attempts and get back to his feet. So I got Steve Erceg by decision. Next fight. This was a fight that was put together last minute. Marwan Rahiki versus Ollie Schmid. And I'm glad Rahiki got added to the card. He's a very talented and exciting young fighter. Has an 100% finish rate in all of his fights. 7 by TKO and 1 by sub. Majority finished within the first 2 rounds as well, coming off the win over Harry Hardwick in his UFC debut, which was an absolute banger of a fight. Rahiki has a nasty striking, good shot selection, good combinations, good hooks and elbows, and is very accurate. Broke Harry Hardwick's jaw. But he always ends up in firefights, and he gets caught a lot. It's very dangerous to be in that firefight, but he thrives there. He thrives there. Schmid is making his UFC debut, is from City Kickboxing. Only one of his fights has gone to a decision, and he won that fight. The rest of his wins were all by first round finishes. Both losses were third round finishes. He's coming off a spinning back fist KO win in round 1. And it's crazy. He actually has 2 spinning back fist KOs in his 4 wins, which is crazy. His record doesn't do him justice. Like, he's a lot better than what it shows. He isn't bad at all. And he's still very early in his career. And the guys he's lost to have had good records and were in Eternal. Eternal is one of the best regional promotions in the world. Schmid has a nice jab to the body and head. Every time I say Schmid, I keep thinking of 21 Jump Street. Schmid has good, nice jab to the body and head. Good kicks as well. Comes out fighting on the front foot in round 1, but does seem to gas after the first round significantly and goes on the back foot in round 2. But he's very sharp and very powerful in round 1. I think the first round in this fight is going to be absolutely insane, but I'm going to go with Rahiki to win by KO in round 2. I think he'll be able to survive that round 1, but I think round 2 he's going to start to fade a little bit and Rahiki is going to get a finish. But I expect that fight to be absolutely insane as long as it lasts. So next fight, Shamil Gaziev versus Brando Percic. I don't mind the matchup. I just think it's just kind of alright. Gaziev's last fight was a loss to Waldo Cortez Acosta by KO in round 1. Was supposed to fight Spivak, was a short notice replacement. Before that fight, he was on a 2-fight win streak, beating Peterson and Mays. Percic didn't fight too long ago, beat Sutherland on the Evloev and Lerone Murphy undercard. Part of Team City Kickboxing. He still has a 100% finish rate in all of his fights. All of his wins have come in the first round, all but one being by KO. Only been subbed once, and it came in round 2. I'm going to go with Percic to win by KO in round 1. He always comes out fast and aggressive, dirty boxing in the clinch, nice ground and pound. I think he's going to get into the top 15 for the first time, and I think he'll be a good little addition to the heavyweight division. Now Tuivasa versus Louis Sutherland. It's Tuivasa, I guess, but supposed to fight Sean Sharaf. Sutherland stepped in on short notice. Tuivasa is on a 6-fight losing streak. Hasn't won since the fight with Derek Lewis back in 2022. And his last fight wasn't pretty at all, but he honestly put up a good fight versus Taliesin Teixeira. His last fight was just too fatigued to get a finish, but he went for it, man. So fair play. Was coming off a year layoff. Sutherland, as I said, just lost to Percic. You could see that as soon as Percic landed like a really good shot on Sutherland, like Sutherland just didn't react well to it. And I think Tuivasa is going to come out aggressive again, and I think he's going to get it done. I'm going to go with Tuivasa to win by round 1 KO. Might sound kind of crazy, but I just really don't like rate Sutherland like that. And I think Tuivasa didn't look horrible his last fight coming off a layoff. And he went for it versus Teixeira. I think he's going to go for it in this fight. And I'm going to go with him to win by round 1 KO. Next fight, Rowston versus Robert Bryczek. Rowston, another city kickboxing fighter, on a 6-fight win streak, got signed up to Contender Series. Won his first 2 fights in the UFC by TKO, beating Cody Brundage and Andre Petrosky within the first 2 rounds. His last loss came to Torres Finney in his first attempt on the Contender Series back in 2024. Bryczek had a big streak of wins by first round KO at Octagon before he got signed to the UFC. In his first 2 UFC fights, he lost to Igor Portieria and he beat Brad Tavares by round 3 KO. Rowston is very tall and long, good striking, and has power at the end of his punches. There are times where he's there to be hit because he keeps his chin kind of high, but he gets away with it a lot of the time because he's very tall. Also has the ability to take the fight to the ground and land ground and pound or get a submission. Bryczek has really nice boxing, nasty body head combinations against the fence, good head movement. And I was honestly tempted to go Bryczek for a second, but I don't see him getting a finish. And I believe Rowston has more paths to victory, so I think he'll stay out range and get those kicks going, keeps to the body, low kicks, stay in the center, not get pushed back to the fence, and maybe even try to get some takedowns in. I'm gonna go with Rowston to win this fight by decision, but I think it'll be a good I think this is a very good matchup. I think it'll be good. Now Junior Tafa, Kevin Christian. I mean, we're just having Junior Tafa on just for vibes at this point, but bro, I've never been like the biggest fan of the Tafa brothers just because like they're on these cards and they don't have like the best records or anything, but their fights are always like very entertaining, so fair play to them. Bro, I'm gonna go with Junior Tafa to win by round 1, bro. Screw it. Whatever, bro. We're gonna have Junior Tafa on here for vibes. I'm gonna just go for Junior Tafa, bro. Screw it. I think Christian's like he's very like reckless on the feet. And I think he'll get caught with a shot if he's being too overly aggressive, but I don't know, who knows? Maybe Christian's just gonna stay at range, land those kicks, and get Tafa to the ground and submit him, but I don't really care about this fight, to be honest. So I'm just going to go with Tafa to win by KO in round 1. Screw it. Next fight, Jacob Malkoun versus Gerald Meerschaert. Malkoun on a 2-fight win streak, beating Torres Finney and Andre Petrosky. The Petrosky win was kind of weird. Petrosky just kind of like ran himself into his knee, and it was a bit of a freakish finish. I don't really know. Malkoun has only been KO'd 1 time, never been submitted. GM3, been in the round a long time. Has the record for the most subs in UFC middleweight history. Right now is on a 4-fight losing streak, most of them by finish. But they've been to good guys like Kyle Dawkins, The Ritter, or Jacek. Like, these aren't bad guys. And his last win was the comeback win to Shabazian in 2024. And he has a history of coming back in fights and winning late. Malkoun had a good performance versus Torres Finney his last fight after a year layoff and didn't allow himself to get taken down. Kept it on the feet versus Finney and hurt him many times. He just couldn't get a finish. I don't really rate Malkoun like that, but I'm going to go with him to win this fight by TKO in round 2. I don't think Meerschaert will be able to get takedowns, and I think Malkoun is quicker and more powerful on the feet, so I'm gonna have to go with Malkoun, but it's getting tough to see a little bit for Meerschaert, honestly. Next fight, Colby Thicknesse versus Vince Morales. Thicknesse is 2 fights into his UFC career. Won his last fight versus Musasa by decision. His 1 loss came in his debut to Alexander Topuria by decision. And he showed well for himself, I think, on short notice. Still never gotten finished. Thicknesse has good movement and kicks, fights on the outside, nice stance switches, decent hands. Is good on the ground, also looks for submissions off his back. Morales already had 1 run in the UFC, started in 2018, got cut in 2022, went to other promotions and put together a good win streak, got re-signed. But right now he's in a tough situation. 0-3, lost to Raul Rosas Jr., Elijah Smith, and Taylor Lapilus, which aren't the worst losses in the world. Like we're talking about like 2 good prospects, and he didn't get finished in either of those fights. Morales, I think, is more likely to get a finish on the ground than he is on the feet. Has good submissions, is a nice low darce. But I'm going to go with Thicknesse to win this fight by decision. I think the movement is going to really frustrate Morales on the feet, and I just think he'll chop at the leg, and he's just better there on the feet than Morales is. I think Morales on the feet, just like, he doesn't do enough. and I think the fight's just going to get too out and ahead of him. But Thicknesse needs to be focused for all 15 minutes because Morales is still there to the end. Almost had Raul versus Jr. in the Darce with 10 seconds to go. Same with Elijah Schmid. Had him in Anaconda in round 3. He's a very hard guy to put away. Hasn't been finished in a very long time. But I think Colby Thicknesse is good enough to beat him. But I think it'll be competitive though. But I'm going Colby Thicknesse by decision. Ben Johnston versus Wes Schultz. Johnston is making his UFC debut. Has an 100% finish rate in all of his fights. All ending within the first 2 rounds. Only loss was a TKO in his second fight. But he made his debut in 2010. Then didn't fight again till 2022. I don't really know what's going on there. But I honestly don't know. Most of his wins have been by sub and rear naked choke. Was the middleweight champ at Eternal, but also hasn't fought in a year. Is from City Kickboxing. Schultz was signed in his second attempt on the Contender Series with a crazy submission win. Last loss was in his UFC debut by TKO. Pretty much all of Wes Schultz's wins have come by finish in round 1, only gone to a decision twice. Schultz has a really weird and awkward style on the feet, but he likes to get his opponents down and submit them or land ground and pound. But he does gas pretty quickly. I'm going to go with Ben Johnston to win by TKO in round 1. He's just better and more technical on the feet, and I think he can stay away from the danger that's on the ground. Just as simple as that. Jonathan Micallef versus Temba Gorimbo. I actually rate Micallef. I think Micallef is pretty good. Got signed up the Contender Series. Now 2 fights into his UFC career. Beat Kevin Jousset. Beat Oban Elliot last time out by rear naked choke in round 2. Has good subs. Only been finished once in his career. And was in a 4-round fight. Micallef has decent striking with good power. Is a southpaw. Temba Gorimbo is on a 2-fight losing streak to Jeremiah Wells and Vicente Luque. But before that, he had a pretty good win streak. Just hasn't been able to get back to that form. He's never been TKO'd in the UFC, but he has been hurt many times. Gorimbo has good power in his hands. Has submission threats on the ground. But I'm going to go with Jonathan Micallef to win by submission in round 2 again. I just think he's better than Temba Gorimbo. First fight of the night, Dom Marfan versus Cody Steele. Marfan had a good fight in his UFC debut, I remember. Well, technically, this is his UFC debut because he was still en route to UFC, but is on a 5-fight win streak. Never been TKO'd in his career. His 2 losses were both to Quillen Salkilld by submission. Marfan has good punch combos, works nicely in the clinch with elbows and knees, can take down and land good ground and pound. Cody Steele was signed off the Contender Series coming off a loss to Rong Shu in his UFC debut. Was a very good fight. Is still the only loss in his career. Before that was on a streak of TKOs. It was regarded as a pretty high prospect. Steele has good power in his hands. Is a good wrestler. But I'll go with Dom Marfan to get it done in this fight. I think it's gonna be very, very good though. But yeah, man, those are my full card predictions. I'm going with Marfan, Micallef, Johnston, Thicknesse, Malkoun, Tafa, Rowston, Tuivasa, Percic, Rahiki, Erceg, Salkilld, and Jack Della Maddalena. I'm a bit worried though because I didn't pick against a single Aussie on the card, which is kind of concerning. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, man, I'm super excited for the main event. I cannot wait. This is a fight that a lot of us have been waiting for a long time. You couldn't ask for a better main event if you're a Perth fan. Yeah, man, super excited. Cannot wait. I thank you guys for watching once again. We were late this week again, but just had some things come up and had to delay it a little bit. But I thank you guys for watching once again. Thank you for your time, and catch you guys in the next one.